Shoot a broadhead. You're inches to the left.
Yeah.
All right, shoot a fill point. Okay, that'll work.
Welcome back to the Locked In series brought to you by Black Rifle Coffee. Today's a super important day leading up to September 1. Today we are going to broadhead tune. Next, we're going to do something I've never done before. We're going to build a broadhead specific sight tape using precision cut archery. Then we're going to head to the field and practice some realistic scenarios. And at the end, you're going to see I find a major curveball that I wasn't expecting and how to fix that. Here we go.
Hold these. So we're not messing with ups and downs. Both are on the same plane elevation-wise. Go another half. Hopefully. So for right-handed, most of you, it's probably the opposite. You know how these southpaw guys are. That's always... So anyways, his broadhead's hitting left, impacting left of his fill point. So we are shifting the cams to the right. And now we've done one full turn on each, and we're really close. We're at just under 20 yards. Let's see. We don't need to waste our time with fill points now. We're just going to shoot until we get broadheads in the middle. Then we'll back up to 30 and 40 and so on and so forth. That is in the middle.
Thank you.
Locked in, baby!
All right, so the first thing we had to do to Riley's bow was adjust the wheeling. He wasn't getting any crazy up or downs when you compare his fixed broadhead, which is a VPA 3-blade, to his fill point. They're on the same plane, same level, but his VPA was shooting far left of the fill point, regardless of the distance, and the further he went back, the further it would go left. We need to make a wheeling adjustment. You could adjust the rest, but he's got a lift RS, so simply all we had to do was shift the cams away from the fixed broadhead. So his fixed broadhead shooting left, and it says left to right on the limb shift, so we just turned to the right about a full turn, and it brought that broadhead right over to the fill point. That's important. Once you do your broadhead tune, then we are going to build a broadhead specific sight tape.
All right, I'm going to print two sight tapes today. One is going to be with the fill point. The other is going to be with the broadhead. Two different sight tapes. So this arrow weighs 446 with 150 grains. This collar weighs 18 and the aluminum hit weighs 16. So 34 plus 150, 184 up front. Total arrow weight 446. I want to make a sight tape specific for this. This will be slower downrange speed because this has a lot of drag. Why not just make a sight tape specific to this? I need 30 and 60. So the Garmin is 10 yards but back. So I'm going to walk out to 40 yards from this target, shoot. When the arrow whizzes past the Garmin, I'll get a 30-yard speed, and then I'll go out to 70 from this target to 70, shoot it. The arrow whizzing by will get our 60-yard downrange speed. Those are the two speeds I need. Then I need my peep to sight measurement. I need my peep to arrow measurement. Precision cut archery. It'll be a beautifully accurate tape. I will print out the fill point versus the broadhead sight tape so you guys can see, like, probably once you hit about 50 yards and beyond, it'll start being a lot slower tape with the fixed broadhead. So here's 70. Somebody honked at full draw. Two shots, 60 yard is 252.7 with the broadhead, and that's my 60 yard speed. And then without a broadhead is 262.3. That's 10 feet a second difference at 60 yard reading. That's going to be a different sight tape. That's why you should make a sight tape specific for your fixed broadhead. Let's do a 30-yard one next. I'm also using this bow for tack. I'm using this arrow, but I use a 100-grain point. So obviously this sight tape is built for tack, and I can take it on and off the plate, and I'll put it on for Montana and Utah tacks. So at 30, with the broadhead, we're at 270.1. With the fill point, we're 274.1. Next up is Riley. I will say, if you have the time, we're just making a quick video, I would do 3 shots for 30 and maybe 3 shots for 60 or 70 or 80, whatever you're comfortable in your downrange speed, and then get an average of the 3. .238.4, 223.3. This is my 2024 lift, and I'm gonna go with edit sight in. This is the fill point, density altitude 2500, 30 and 60. 30 was 274.3 or 0.1, and my 60 was 262.3. Update sight in. And then for the iron wheel wide 446, let's update this. Edit sight in. We have downrange speed of 30 yards is 270.1, and my 60 is 252.7. Update sight in. We want to print. And I'm going to print out the fill point tape. Riley's RS, Sonic 414 grain on an XL landslide. You're left-handed, so let's change to that. All right, Riley, you have a Broadhead sight tape. So you can see, like, once you're about 50 yards, I'm off a yard. 80, probably 2 yards. 90, 3 yards. It does make a difference on that Broadhead sight tape once you're past 50 for my current setup. But part of locking it in, once you've gotten your broadheads tuned, now we are gonna lock in your Broadhead sight tape, and now we're gonna go head to the field, bring a 3D elk, and practice some realistic scenarios for elk.
My iron wheel wide is 10 feet a second slower at 60-yard downrange speed. We use the Garmin, we use precision cut. Make sure that Garmin is about 10 yards exactly from your target, and you just need to whiz right over it. You'll get good readings. Shoot a few per distance. We chose 30 and 60. If you're comfortable, go 30 and 80 if you have a setup for that. And get those, you'll get a real accurate sight tape. Now, their sight tape's not that different, but it does seem to make a difference once you get past 40, 50 yards. It'll start being off by a yard or two, which can get super annoying. If you have a short draw length like me and Riley, it shows up more. If you have more draw energy, obviously it's harder to tell, but why not make a specific sight tape for your broadhead? I recommend Precision Cut Archery, worth its weight in gold. I make my tack setups with that. Now I'm making broadhead sight tapes and things like that.
That's my tether. Entry, exit, know your angles, lock it in. I can tell you right now, this one was not a flyer. This arrow was when I had 1 foot on the platform, 1 knee against the tree. I was the least stable, the bow moved the most. I felt good when I had both knees up against the tree. I also mixed and matched the bridge height. Close, back, let loose. All of those just kind of like practicing. Was able to stack them in really good. Now let's work on trajectory when there's things that look like they're in the way, but actually your arrow is going to go over and hit your target. We're going to get some practice there.
This was super important for me to get experience shooting out of a saddle. I've saddle hunted a little bit. I've practiced once, but I wanted to practice again. So we hiked in a mini 3D, and we have some private property access that we could go to. So shot some steep downhill shots. And I noticed basically once my knees are against the tree, or if my bridge is eye level or lower and I'm leaning back, I feel real stable. When my bridge is a little higher and I'm maybe off the platform, only 1 foot touching the platform, it gets a little wobbly. So just kind of experimenting to see what's comfortable. Plus, I need the practice because I'm going to have to do a lot of that saddling type stuff for whitetails in the dark. And I want to be fast and efficient when I bring that saddle system out west, hunting wallows and elk pinch points during midday.
Right, I'm literally aiming at that branch, but I know that that branch is less than 20 yards. The arrow's still climbing, so we can clear the branch and shoot the bull right in the heart.
The next thing we did was we wanted to showcase knowing or understanding your trajectory. In that shot, I had a branch blocking my view of the elk, but the branch was so close to me that I knew my arrow would rise over it and drop in on the elk. I think you need to find some scenarios like that if possible so you can understand your trajectory. It could cost you a shot opportunity that you had and you didn't know and you neglected to pass when your arrow could have cleared that easily.
If you're 5'7" and under, I'm in that category. I don't kneel unless I have to kneel to only get the shot lane. Other than that, I'm gonna stay standing 99% of the time on elk. I'm way more accurate standing, and kneeling actually, you always think like, oh, I gotta get down so they don't see me. If you hold still standing up, they won't see you. But in case we have a shot window like this, we'll practice, plus it's a steep uphill.
Next, we practiced kneeling, which I'm not a huge fan of, as I said in the video. And then we did another hold the bow for at least 30 seconds and shoot. I will say holding a bow back at full draw with a wrist rocket is easier for me than using a handheld. I'm not sure why, but I think it's just because it's in the wrist and you're not like squeezing with your hands. So practice that, felt comfortable.
Shot.
All right, so I think I learned something. I'm not sure, but this bow's third axis is doped in with my thumb button, and I figured it would carry over, and I just broke 2 really clean shots at 84 steep downhill, and I'm in the back of the target.
And then the curveball. My third axis was doped. I was using my ElkShape Edition Carter 2 Simple, and that lift X was dialed third axis, but apparently I put some different kind of torque into the bow when I use a wrist rocket, which I didn't account for. And essentially third axis is accounting for the type of influence you put into the bow, the way you grip, the torque. And that's why third axis can't be really adjusted by somebody else. It's got to be adjusted by you, and you kind of have to shoot it in. So at 84 yards, pretty steep shot. Now, I will say there was a pretty good wind going from right to left, but still my arrows were impacting way left at 84 yards, and I was surprised by that. And then I made a mistake. So my sight was turned like this towards me. And so I was like, oh, I'll just get my sight pushed back out a little bit, and ended up missing the elk even further left. So then I brought it back to where it was and then in a little more, made sure it was a tube on tube hallway, took a couple more shots, a little closer, not too much, and was drilling right down the middle. So now I kind of have that third. Now, if I switch back to a handheld, I'd have to probably repeat that process. But with that current bow, that Lift X, that's going to be kind of my elk hunting rig. I'm going to use an index.
Which means if I was shooting steep uphill, I'd probably be shooting right. So this is why you wanna, if you're gonna change release aids and be all cute like me, you better get your third axis doped. I'm gonna take one more shot, but man, I think I'm starting to group in the hind quarter from here, and those were some clean breaks. So, and I've been shooting pretty good today, so I don't know what's up, but we might have to make a third axis adjustment. That is crazy! They're all left. I would not advise dialing your third axis to 84 on a mini elk. If it's still set up,
Yeah, I'll turn it back on.
I'll risk it for the biscuit. Are you rolling?
Yep.
I'm gonna risk it for the biscuit. I would do this at like a place where I wouldn't lose an arrow, but I basically, so I'm right-handed. My third axis was kind of leaning towards me. I just pushed it away from me. So either I'm gonna miss way more left and that arrow's gonna be goodbye, or should be 11 ring. So we'll take a shot, and I hate losing arrows. Holy. Yay! This is why you have to do this. I never thought switching release aids would mess with that. And I don't think it shows up till longer shots, 84 up the hill. This is 61, and I made a quick adjustment. I did burn an arrow. I bent an arrow down there, but man, locked in. I'm feeling locked in now. Locked in.
The index I was using on the video was a Scott XT, but I'm probably going to use the Carter Like Mike 2. I have 2 of them, so 2 is 1. A couple other good options is like the Scott SS. We really like that. And then I really like the Stan Solix with the click, but I feel like they need to make some adjustments on it because every time I put my index on it, it clicks right away. I can't get it to slow down to the click. Now, I don't care how fast it breaks after the click, but I don't want to put my index on and have it click right away. I want to be able to get in, click, and then walk myself through the shot process. Guys, I hope you're enjoying our series, Locked In. On the next episode, we're going to dive deep into some logistics on shelters, mobile elk hunting, backcountry sleep systems, hydration, what food we eat in the field, how we food plan, how we know how many calories to take in. And we're going to talk about some of the logistics behind a truck, a UTV, ATV, dirt bike, e-bike, the rules, regulations, what you need to know. Can't wait to get that one to you. And then finally, on the last episode of the month, we're going to do a final walkthrough on the checklist, all the things that you need to keep in mind, and fight Mr. Murphy, Murphy's Law, if you know about that. Hope this series is kicking butt for you. Please comment below that you're digging it, what we need to add. Give it a like. We love that. Share it with your friends. Please subscribe if you're into our content. Separation is in the preparation. We'll catch you next week.